She would come home from school crying. Every single day. Classmates mocked her curly hair. They made fun of her dark skin. Teachers looked at her differently. Even strangers on the street would comment, "Mag paputi konaba." Are you going to whiten your skin? In a country obsessed with fair skin and Eurocentric beauty, Chelsea and Manalo was told she would never be beautiful enough. But on May 22, 2024, this black Filipina from Bulacan stood on stage at the Araneta Coliseum and shattered 70 years of beauty standards, becoming the first Filipino of African descent to win Miss Universe Philippines. This is her complete and told story. Let me take you back to where it all started. Malhacan, Maycuyuayan City, Bulacan. October 14, 1999. Chelsea and Manalo was born to Contessa Manalo, a Filipino mother, and an African-American father. Her parents' love story was brief. They separated in 2000 when Chelsea was barely 1 year old. Her father wanted to return to the United States. He wanted Contessa and baby Chelsea to come with him. But Contessa refused, choosing to stay in the Philippines, in the community she knew, with family nearby. The separation meant Chelsea would grow up without knowing her biological father well. Years later, her father died, and Chelsea never got the chance to build that relationship. Her mother, Contessa, remarried Randy Angeles, a Filipino man who would help raise Chelsea as his own daughter. This was Chelsea's family: a Filipino mother, a Filipino stepfather, and a little girl with dark skin and curly hair who didn't look like anyone else around her. Growing up in Maycuyuayan was difficult in ways most people couldn't understand. The Philippines has a complicated relationship with skin color for centuries, dating back to Spanish colonization and American occupation. Filipinos were taught to venerate whiteness. Fair skin represented beauty, intelligence, wealth, and power. Dark skin represented the opposite: poverty, labor in the fields, being uneducated, being less than. This wasn't just history. This was Chelsea's daily reality in the early 2000s. Walk into any Filipino supermarket and you'd find entire aisles dedicated to skin whitening products. Turn on the television and you'd see commercials with half Filipino, half white models singing about achieving fair skin in 1 week. Famous Filipino actresses promoting white is beautiful while using beauty filters. The message was everywhere, constant, unavoidable. If you have dark skin, you need to change. Young Chelsea internalized these messages. She went to school and immediately stood out. While other children had straight black hair, Chelsea had curly African textured hair. While other children had brown or fair skin, Chelsea had noticeably darker skin. The bullying started early. Classmates would point and whisper. Some said cruel things directly to her face. Made him call Masiodo. You're too dark. Mag paputi ka. You should use whitening products. Bagit ganyan ang bak mo. Why is your hair like that every day? Chelsea faced judgment for something she couldn't control and shouldn't have to change. I would go home crying, Chelsea later revealed. Every afternoon, she'd walk through the door of her home in tears, devastated by what classmates said, by how they looked at her, by the constant reminder that she was different. Her mother, Contessa, saw the pain in her daughter's eyes. She held Chelsea close and said the words her daughter needed to hear. You are beautiful. You are beautiful exactly as you are, again and again. Contessa reminded Chelsea that her skin color, her hair texture, her unique heritage were not flaws to fix, but gifts to celebrate. But when an entire society tells you otherwise, when commercials and beauty pageants and classmates all agree you're not beautiful enough, a mother's words can feel like kind lies rather than truth. Chelsea tried to believe her mother. She tried to ignore the bullies, But the colorism extended beyond school playgrounds. Filipino beauty pageants, which had fervent followers and were nationally broadcast, almost exclusively crowned fair-skinned winners. 7 out of 10 recent Miss World Philippines winners were half white. The other 3 had lighter skin or Eurocentric features. The message was crystal clear. If you want to be considered beautiful in the Philippines, if you want to represent Filipino beauty, you need to look a certain way, and Chelsea didn't. By rewarding these aesthetics, this gives the message to other Filipinas to conform to this ideal. Researcher Christina Bade-Bienvenu noted. Chelsea saw this message everywhere. It would have been so easy to give up, to accept society's verdict, to believe she could never be a beauty queen because of her skin. But something shifted when Chelsea was around 10 years old. She traveled to Las Vegas, Nevada, to live with her paternal grandmother for 2 years in America, specifically in a diverse city like Las Vegas. Chelsea's appearance wasn't unusual. People who looked like her were models, actresses, beauty queens. For the first time, Chelsea saw beauty that looked like hers being celebrated rather than criticized. She discovered the British supermodel Naomi Campbell, a black woman dominating international fashion runways. Naomi had dark skin, a powerful walk, and confidence that radiated from every photograph. Chelsea studied her images, watched her interviews, and realized something profound. Beauty standards weren't universal truths handed down by nature. They were social constructs that could be challenged and changed. When Chelsea returned to the Philippines at age 12, she came back different. The bullying hadn't stopped, but Chelsea's response to it evolved. She decided she wouldn't hide her hair or avoid the sun or use whitening products. Instead, she would pursue the very industry that had excluded people like her, modeling and beauty pageants. At 14 years old, Chelsea began working as a professional model. She graced the pages of top magazines like Mega. By high school, she was already competing in pageantry. Her family and friends provided the support system she needed. They reminded her constantly, "You are beautiful in your own extraordinary way." This time, Chelsea believed them. In 2017, at just 17 years old, Chelsea competed in Miss World Philippines. Rappler, a major Filipino news outlet, called her a dark horse candidate, praising her runway walk. Chelsea didn't win that year. She finished in the top 15, but she proved something important. She belonged on that stage. Over the next 7 years, Chelsea continued modeling, worked with youth organizations, and developed her advocacy work with indigenous communities. She became particularly passionate about the Dumagat people of Norzagari, Bilacan, an indigenous group facing marginalization and lack of access to education. Chelsea partnered with Kids for Kids, a youth-led organization creating safe spaces for indigenous children and empowering them to become catalysts of change in their communities. By 2021, Chelsea had become an endorser for Bench, a major Philippine clothing brand. She graduated from De La Salle Araneta University with a degree in tourism management. She was building a successful modeling career and making a difference through advocacy work. But the dream of competing at Miss Universe Philippines, of representing her country on the international stage, never faded. In 2024, Chelsea decided it was time. She would compete as the representative of her home province, Bilacan. The road to the crown wasn't easy. Before the coronation night, Chelsea faced criticism for her tourism video entry for Bilacan, which included footage of the controversial New Manila International Airport development site. Social media users pointed out environmental concerns, including how over 600 mangrove trees were cut down in 2018 at the coastal area where the airport was being built. Chelsea addressed the criticism, learned from it, and moved forward. This was part of her journey, facing challenges, listening to feedback, growing from every experience. May 22nd, 2024, the Araneta Coliseum in Quezon City, the Miss Universe Philippines 2024 coronation night. Chelsea competed against 52 other candidates, all talented, all beautiful, all worthy. The pressure was immense. Chelsea made it to the top 5. Then came the final question. You are beautiful and confident. How would you use these qualities to empower others? Chelsea took a breath and spoke from her heart. She talked about her experiences as a woman of color in a country that often devalued dark skin, SH. She positioned herself as a transformational woman who could challenge ingrained preferences for Eurocentric beauty. Her answer was honest, vulnerable, and powerful. And then, history was made. Chelsea and Manalo was crowned Miss Universe Philippines 2024. Outgoing title holder Michelle D placed the crown on Chelsea's head. The Araneta Coliseum erupted in applause. Social media exploded with celebration. Chelsea became the first Filipino of African descent to be selected to represent the Philippines at Miss Universe. 70+ years of Miss Universe Philippines competition, and finally, a black Filipina was wearing the crown. Her win was celebrated as a direct challenge to the ingrained preference for Eurocentric beauty long held in the country. This wasn't just a pageant victory. This was a cultural shift. The little girl who came home crying because classmates bullied her for her dark skin was now a national representative. The teenager who was told to use whitening products was now wearing a crown and sash representing Filipino beauty on the world stage. The young woman who faced discrimination in a country obsessed with fair skin was now shattering those very beauty standards. On June 9, 2024, the provincial government of Bulacan honored Chelsea with a homecoming parade. Thousands lined the streets to celebrate their queen. In July, the city government of Nakuyuan bestowed Chelsea with a Gintong Kawayan recognition and a pin of honor. The same community where she once felt like an outsider now celebrated her as a hero. But Chelsea's journey wasn't over. She still had to compete at Miss Universe 2024 in Mexico City. November 14, 2024, the preliminary rounds began. For the national costume presentation, Chelsea wore a Mani Halosim design titled Tiraya, which translates to I hope or I wish. The costume referenced the Manila galleon trade and the arrival of Christianity and Islam in the Philippines. Significantly, Chelsea's ensemble featured Our Lady of Antipolo, a black Madonna that Chelsea is devoted to. This wasn't random symbolism. Chelsea was celebrating black representation in Filipino religious iconography, connecting her African heritage to Filipino spirituality. For the evening gown portion of the preliminaries, Chelsea wore a simple blue ball gown inspired by Philippine seas. Her performance in the preliminary contests led to mixed reactions online. Some called her an underrated dark horse candidate, while others noted what they perceived as a decline from her national competition performance. The pressure of representing an entire nation at Miss Universe is immense. Every movement is scrutinized. Every facial expression is analyzed. Chelsea felt the weight. November 16, 2024, coronation night at the Mexico City Arena. Chelsea progressed to the swimsuit competition where she showcased her tempers or walk, her playful, confident strut that embodied Filipino beach culture. When the results were announced, Chelsea finished as a top 30 semi-finalist. She didn't win the overall crown that went to Victoria Kjærfeilvig of Denmark. But Chelsea made history in another way. She was named the inaugural Continental Queen for Asia, becoming the first entrant to win this new title. Days later, on November 30th, Chelsea was announced as the winner of the national costume competition, marking back-to-back wins for the Philippines following Michelle D's victory the previous year. Chelsea's Miss Universe journey proved something crucial. Representation matters. Young Filipinas with dark skin, with African heritage, with features that don't fit Eurocentric beauty standards watched Chelsea and saw possibility. They saw that beauty comes in many shades. They learned that their worth isn't determined by how closely they conform to colonial beauty ideals. Chelsea's story became proof that systems can change, that barriers can be broken, that one person's courage can shift an entire culture's perception. Think about what Chelsea accomplished. She grew up in a country where skin whitening products are everywhere, where television commercials literally sing about achieving fair skin, where beauty pageants almost exclusively crowned light-skinned winners. She faced bullying as a child, came home crying, was told by society that she wasn't beautiful enough. And instead of accepting those limitations, instead of changing herself to fit narrow beauty standards, Chelsea challenged the standards themselves. She competed in the very industry that had excluded people like her and forced it to recognize that Filipino beauty is diverse. Chelsea's advocacy work continues beyond pageantry. Her focus on empowering indigenous dumagat youth addresses another form of marginalization in Philippine society. Indigenous communities face discrimination, lack access to quality education, and struggle for recognition and resources. Through her work with Kids for Kids, Chelsea creates opportunities for these young people to thrive. She advocates for youth education, accessibility, and empowerment across marginalized communities. Her crown gives her a platform, and she uses it to lift others. This is what makes Chelsea's story so powerful. She isn't just breaking barriers for herself. She's opening doors for everyone who was ever told they don't fit. Every dark-skinned Filipino who sees Chelsea's success understands you don't need to lighten your skin to be beautiful. Every child with curly hair learns your natural texture is gorgeous as it is. Every Filipino with mixed heritage discovers your complexity makes you uniquely beautiful. Chelsea's victory rewrites the narrative about what Filipino beauty looks like. The impact extends beyond the Philippines. CNN recently published an article titled How the Philippines Became a Global Pageant Powerhouse, examining why Filipinos excel at international beauty competitions. The article notes that Filipino culture treats pageants as major events, that the entire nation pauses for competitions, that Filipinos invest tremendous dedication and resources into pageant preparation. Chelsea represents the evolution of this pageant culture, from exclusively celebrating Eurocentric features to embracing diverse representations of Filipino beauty. Chelsea Manalo's mother Contessa was right all along. When she held her crying daughter and said, "You're beautiful," she was telling the truth. When she assured Chelsea that her skin color was something to celebrate rather than hide, she was preparing her daughter to challenge an entire society's beauty standards. When she refused to let Chelsea believe the bullies, she was nurturing a future Miss Universe Philippines who would change the game for everyone. Today, when young Filipinos with dark skin face discrimination, when they're told to use whitening products, when they're made to feel less beautiful because of their complexion, they can look at Chelsea Manalo and see proof that those messages are lies. They can see a black Filipino wearing a crown, representing the Philippines on the world stage, being celebrated for her beauty exactly as she is. That representation is revolutionary. This is Chelsea Manalo. This is the girl from Maycuyuan who came home crying and grew up to wear a crown. This is the black Filipina who faced bullying for her skin color and became the first Filipino of African descent to represent the Philippines at Miss Universe. This is the woman who looked at 70 years of Eurocentric beauty standards and said no more. This is proof that beauty knows no boundaries, that representation matters, that one person's courage can change how an entire nation sees itself. If this story inspired you, please hit that like button. Share this video with fellow Filipinos who need to hear this, and subscribe for more untold stories of Filipino excellence. Mabuhaying Pilipinas.